r/AskReddit. Women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100% untrue and infuriates you when you hear it? Every time I throw up or say I feel nauseated, literally since I was like 16, the first thing someone jumps to is, are you pregnant? Like we can get sick without it being because we are knocked up. Edit. Changed nauseous to the proper nauseated. Edit again. Personally, if a doctor or nurse asks me, I simply answer and move on. That's part of their job. But if I mention to my mom or a coworker or a random stranger hears me telling my husband that I feel sick, it doesn't mean I'm pregnant. As someone who gets horrible nausea as a PMS symptom the week before my period starts, this is the bane of my existence. This for sure. I had gallstones for years and didn't know it. I would wake up and throw up every morning. I got so tired of hearing how it was morning sickness. I just stopped telling people I was sick and lived with it for much longer than I should have. If only someone had suggested I get actual medical advice. That we all love shopping. I fucking hate shopping. I hate shopping for clothes, but give me $100 and I could easily spend it in an art supplies store. Somehow I managed to get 15 Carpic markers for $2. Not a piece but all for $2. They were all on sale for $2, but the girl checking me out was so done. She just rang up one and said fuck it. That we don't need pockets in our fucking clothes. I'm a guy and I've seen the pockets in girls' jeans and shit. I feel really bad for y'all since they are like 2 inches deep. If they even open. You'd be surprised how often the pockets are purely decorative and stitched shut. Edit. Yes, oftentimes they are loosely stitched closed for transport and once picked open are fully functioning pockets. I honestly more meant on women's pants when they add extra fabric to the outside to give the appearance of a pocket when it ain't no damn pocket, especially on articles such as jeggings. On Reddit I frequently come across the notion that women, unlike men, automatically have this social network they can rely on for support. Boy, I wish that were the case. OMG, this is so sadly true. I had a baby in June and every damned piece of advice I got included some bullshit about enlisting a friend to help with the baby. That friend doesn't exist, but thanks for the helpful tip. Motherhood can be profoundly isolating and lonely, especially when they are little. That the clitoris is hard to find. Or that labia grow exponentially with lots of sex. Or that vaginas are anything but elastic. Basically every ridiculous myth about female sexuality and their genitals. As a guy I never understood why people think the clit's hard to find. Like dude, it's right there. Also, dudes really think a dick's gonna make a pussy loose when y'all can push a whole ass baby out and revert back to normal size. I find that shit just as ridiculous, mostly because I've always found the female anatomy fascinating and started learning about it at a young age. I thought the clit is hard to find was a joke by women about men who were terrible in bed. People actually think it's hard to find? Nearly everything about endometriosis. It is sorely misunderstood. Reassarc is underfunded, and terrible treatments get used all the fucking time when they don't help and make things worse. It's a hidden debilitating disease, and I hate the misinformation spread about it. There is help out there and legit treatments. Eater, thank you kind strangers for the awards. For those suffering and needing additional resources, the Facebook group Nancy's Nook Endometriosis Education is an amazing resource. Yup, my wife suffered with severe endo for most of her life. I can't count the number of nights she was a mess on the bathroom floor, just in absolute misery. Doctors never really took her seriously and brushed it off as overly dramatic, which is total bullshit because my wife can handle some pain. 12 years of rock climbing, alpinism, and mountain biking together has convinced me of that. An endoscopic treatment alleviated the symptoms briefly, but returned to normal after 18 months. She was able to marginalize the effects somewhat with a heavy regimen of NSAIDs, but those are not great drugs to depend on heavily. She had a hysterectomy a year ago. She can't believe she waited 49 years to do it. It's no longer an issue for her. Somewhat related, I went to preschool in a church. My teacher told us the story of Adam and Eve. At the end she said us, this is the reason God made women afraid of snakes. Several girls spoke up and said they weren't afraid of snakes. I don't remember what my teacher's exact response was, but I remember she was really annoyed. I'm a girl and love snakes. Strangely though, I'm afraid of most insects. I love snakes. They are so cute. I just think people misunderstand why women's bathroom lines are so long. It's not because we're all vain, it's because we have to sit every time, unlike you, and wipe, and it takes a lot longer, and some women have to get undressed to do so. Also, not even to mention how time consuming periods can be. As a woman, having to take a poop while on your period is an entire event that requires so much time and clean up. There should be a stall dedicated to it. Thanks, but I would not want to go in a stall specially dedicated to period poops. So you think it's better to spread the period poops out equally amongst all the stalls? Actually, the US just needs more bidets, either fancy Japanese Elktro toilets, or dedicated European style bidets, or the Southeast Asian Bungan special. It would be fantastic for both sexes. That we are only supposed to like rom-com movies. Someone once told me I've quite a masculine movie collection. WTF. Sometimes they allow female protagonists a la Disney as well. Wonder what they make of Alien. Should fit nicely in your rom-com collection. Ripley's life is flipped upside down once she meets a tall, dark stranger. But her friends start leaving her one by one due to it. Will she be able to get it all figured out? Well, she does end up single, childless, and with no one but a cat for company at the start of the second movie. That because you don't like another woman, it's only because you're jealous. Listen, I can hate a woman because of something she did or said and in no fucking way be jealous of her. She may be just dumb, and why would I be jealous of that? The woman never get alongwit hermansid is honestly the most infuriating stereotype I hear about women. Like really? We just all hate each other and never get along? Okay, sure. What's worse is the women who perpetuate this myth with their "I'm just not friends with women because they're always so dramatic and bitchy, and they just seem to be jealous of me cause I'm one of the guys." Now the other women are rarely the issue. When you smell shit everywhere you go, check the bottom of your own shoe. And I'm saying this as someone who has mainly male friends. My best friends are women though. It doesn't infuriate me, but I was always confused by the stereotype that women are afraid of blood in general. Like, what do you think we deal with everything month? Edit. Whoa, a lot of really interesting responses. Yeah, I definitely get being wary or affected by unnatural amounts of blood, or even by just blood in general as a woman. It's not abnormal or wrong. It definitely happens. Definitely a thing. I feel like the stereotype of women fainting at the sight of blood has died down a lot since its origin though. Anybody who says it was because of corsets hasn't done their research enough to know that the average Joe didn't tight lace on a regular basis or even at all, and that corsets were worn to provide a structure and silhouette often more than to cinch the waist, basically a wider bra. So obviously some idiots in the past tight-laced, then fainted, and then started a viral stereotype. But corsets made and fitting correctly actually are fine for breathing. I'm a reenactor, if you couldn't tell here. So that's where I think the stereotype comes from maybe. Just as women were seen as more restricted, the reality is the same and different all at once, and that's a whole different subject. Yet it's also a stereotype that nurse equals woman. Those two stereotypes aren't compatible. Much like the women belong in the kitchen attitude, except when it comes to restaurants, then women can't be cooks for some reason. Stuff about our periods in general. Like if we're mad, it's definitely because we're on our period. We never have a legitimate reason to be upset. Also myths like we are able to hold in our period, or we only have it for a day, or that we are impure. The impure one definitely infuriates me. I just think about the billions of women throughout history, and sometimes even today, being treated as if they're impure or an evil omen because of a bodily function they cannot control. Banishing them to menstrual huts when they have their periods, or not allowing them to touch anything. And yes, this happens. My mother as a teenager was not allowed to touch anything when she had her period. It got to the point where she would just not tell anyone she was menstruating and do what she wanted. There are so many awful myths about women's periods. Plenty of examples at r/bad women's anatomy. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for I upload daily, and suggest what subreddit I should cover next. Thank you and happy travels.